Welcome back, everyone, to another Company Affairs 2 replay cast. And this time, it's going to be a 2v2 on, I keep forgetting the name of this map, Stadtschut. It's the one with all the debris in the middle, is it? Yes, it is. Our players are going to be Adamir Magnum, playing as the Soviets, and Kairos as the USF, versus Wakedo as the OKW, and Apple as the Wehrmacht. Okay, so this map, of course, Wehrmacht pretty strong, but, well, so is everybody that's not USF, really, on this map. Well, at least in my opinion. Respect my opinion. Anyway, Kairos already going for recon support. I already love this choice. Recon support is very, very strong, in my opinion, in the new patch. And even if it isn't that strong, it's fun to play, which is, well, the important part. And yeah, his buddy Adamir Magnum is going to go with a couple of conscripts right off the bat, so it looks like a bit of conscript spam to start things off with. By the way, Adamir Magnum, I think, is the one who sent in the replay, so thank you. And yeah, so the opponents, well, they're doing their own thing. It looks like all of the players are going to be very, very much united with each other. Right now, yeah, these Echelon troops are going to want to escape out of there, taking a little bit too much fire from these German troops across the street, and of course with the negative cover they're not going to have an easy time. Easy to hit, and right now the conscripts are going to try to stop these grenadiers from coming in. Of course, looks like both players from both sides are concentrating around the center, which is interesting. We'll see who wins this fight, but I'm guessing the Germans, they have the superior long-range units. They've got this MG42 set up, and they've got better cover positions. So overall, I feel like the Allies should just retreat out of this, especially this conscript squad and this rifleman squad should just get out. And this conscript should not join the fight, to be honest. It's not going to be able to do anything. It really can't engage these units at long range, and it really can't pull off any decisive flanks because of all of its friends being killed, so he's not going to have any chances really. And the combat engineers trying to capture the right side, taking the fuel point, but these pioneers should be able to destroy them and force them away, thus capturing the fuel point for the Germans, hopefully. In the center, yeah, the MG42 is doing its own thing, getting some good suppression fire on these conscripts, even though they're in heavy cover. And yes, the conscripts are going to have to escape. So as you can see, the conscript spam right off the bat not working out in the favor of Adamir Magnum. And right now the mortar tries to come in and help, but yeah, it's also going to be forced back. Not really the best position to be in if you're the Allies. Right now they're losing on basically every front. Even these Stern Pioneers should be able to deal with this conscript, yeah, along with the support of the Grenadiers, easy enough. And once again, the Allies get pushed back. So these few engagements, first engagements, absolutely brutal for our Allied players. Looks like we have, yeah, medics coming through for Adamir, and that's an okay choice because he doesn't want to get his conscripts, who are right now almost every conscript squad that he has are at half health or something like that, except this one. He doesn't want them to just come back into the base and only be able to reinforce models, because then they're going to come back on the field with half HP and they're going to be easy pickings for the enemy squads. At least the Americans get a good push going on the left side and they destroy the Cube Wagon. That's pretty well done. Of course, Cube Wagon could have been pretty useful on this map, but its death isn't really the biggest problem for the Germans, because they still hold the map control. They still have some pretty good pushing going, especially with these Grenadiers, and a nasty mortar shot, but, you know, not going to be enough to get back all this map control. And right now, yeah, it seems like these conscripts can finally recapture the fuel point, but yes, the Allies will have to essentially unite their forces and try to make something of this, especially in the center, because right now the Germans do have a troop cap, so things are coming to a head pretty quickly, and they're not going in the favor of the Allies, not at all. Doctrinal picks, of course, we have Kairos's Pathfinders, actually, from the recon support. Interesting choice to go for 2 Pathfinder squads right off the bat. This might be a bad idea, because the firepower of the riflemen is still better than that of the Pathfinders, and the Pathfinders are relatively expensive at 250, considering what they do. But, okay, I mean, I usually like having at least one INR Pathfinder, because they do have that nice artillery barrage. So we'll see how they perform, and they can be pretty strong, upgraded, and all of that. And of course, yeah, here comes some Volksgrenadiers getting some STGs. That's a good thing for them, but yeah, the riflemen will not stick around to fight them. That would be a pretty bad idea. Here comes the field medics, of course, from the battle headquarters. So Wakadwal over here. I mean, he's gonna have a pretty good base to work from, although he must have taken a lot of damage on his Volksgrenadiers because he's only got 2 squads plus his starting Sturmpiles and only 350 manpower. So he either lost a squad, did he? No, he didn't. So he must have taken a pretty massive amount of damage. Well, right, of course, he lost the Cube Wagon, but he also must have taken a lot of damage on his guys because he's pretty attritioned out. And right now, Flamethrower flank coming in from Adamir. Looks like he's going to get some damage off on the MG, but the you know, defending Grenadiers over here are going to have an easy time just picking off these Flamethrower troops. Second Flamethrower comes in. First one gets blown up and the squad is defeated, so that is a pretty bad loss for the Soviets, but a nice flank coming in from another conscript squad is going to force the MG to reposition yet again, and here comes the Flamers. The Flamers getting some pretty good fire, of course, off on the machine gun, wiping out the crew, and right now it seems like these Grenadiers are going to have to escape out of the fire of these Flamethrowers. Otherwise, well, they're probably just going to get burned, and the MG42 is still around, so it can be captured. This is not good for the Wehrmacht. The Wehrmacht needs to escape this as quickly as possible and just be happy that he did not lose any Grenadier squads and he only lost the MG42, which is still a pretty terrible loss. And even in the left side, while I was looking at the other side, it seems like the American player is pushing up and doing some massive damage to the Germans. Pushing back Wakadwal basically to his base, although at least this MG34 is doing some good work for him. Here comes some INR artillery. As you can see, it is pretty effective, but it does kind of graze the battle headquarters because it wasn't really aimed correctly. It looks like one of the rifleman squads will go down, however. That's a pretty big loss, but at least the Allies got some good damage off on the Germans. Especially this right side push was very, very good because the Allies were able to steal a MG42. Even better, though, because Adamir decided to go with a late special rifle command. And it looks like he was going for a sniper. So having that machine gun is just very, very useful for him at this point. Smartly, he decides to go for some anti-tank grenades just to have some extra AT. Because, again, he went for the tier 1, so he's going to be relatively lacking in terms of AT, especially in this early to mid-game. And, yeah, he's going to need some way to deal with light armor when it comes out, and anti-tank grenades are fine. So now that he has that machine gun, and, well, I wonder what he's going to go for after the special rifle command. I think he was trying to go for a sniper, but he canceled it. I wonder if it's because he wanted the manpower or because he wanted... I don't know, he wanted to get something else. I don't know, whatever. We'll see. Grenades coming through, not enough. So, what should the Germans do now? Well, Apple, smartly, I think, went for a second machine gun. What about the teching? He's got tier 2. He's got tier 2, and he's gotten out some Panzer Grenadiers off of that. Sending them to the right side might not be the best idea, but we'll see. Bit of a scruffle in the center. The captain, though, is going to just run into the fire of that machine gun and just kind of murder the Sturm Pioneer with the Thompsons. But yeah, of course, the machine gun easily able to push back these Allied troops. But of course, there's a mortar for the Americans, so the mortar is gonna force back the machine gun at least to escape the mortar fire. What is happening? I do not know. Whatever. Support gun and flak half-track on the field for Wakadwal. And yeah, that's an okay choice. Especially like the infantry support gun, and Raketenwerfer is also a good choice. He needs some kind of AT, especially because there's a Stuart on the field. I'm not sure if he has seen the Stuart. Well, he must have. It does have a kill. And now, yeah, from that captain tier, the Stuart is going to do pretty well. Of course, decent counter to the flak half-track. Even better against the infantry because it's just going to have some pretty good harassment capabilities. And right now, the Germans still have that triple cap going on their favor. But if the Allies can use the Stuart correctly, and right now they aren't, just keeping it too close to these Volksgrenadiers, they should have fired a Panzerfaust, but they did not manage that. The Raketenwerfer is also pushing in to get some pot shots off on it, and the Stuart will wisely, but late, retreat. And yeah, so the right side, of course, the Panzergrenadiers getting just smashed over here. That's kind of why I didn't think that it was a good idea to send the Panzer Grenadiers to the right side. Too much open terrain where the riflemen are going to have an advantage over these assault troops. And yeah, in the center, of course, the flak half track is going to get to work, but it's in a bad spot. Right now, there's a sniper on the field. Sniper can't, of course, do anything against the flak, but it can't pick off these grenadiers. 222 scout car on the right is going to do quite a bit of damage to these conscripts. They might get wiped, but no, they escape. Can they escape? Yeah, I think so. 222 is especially dangerous to the sniper, of course. But other than that, I mean, what is it going to do at this point? It's 10 minutes in game, and I'm thinking that Adamir Magnum is going to start to get tier 3 soon. As you can see, 190 fuel. And his doctrines, well, there's a T-3485, a T-3485, and tank counter tactics. So no T-3485s here, but still, there's some buffs to his late game, some serious buffs to his late game. So yeah, the Germans are gonna have to start thinking about, well, what do these allies look like they're doing? And one of them does have a Stuart. The other one might go for something very soon. In fact, will likely go for something very soon. So they should really start to think about fortifying their AT. Of course, Wakadwal does have the Rakenwerfer, but that's not enough. Apple needs to get a pack at this point. Otherwise, he's going to be caught unprepared. And here comes the airborne support squad. Nasty grenade, but it will miss. And lots of losses on the airborne. In fact, thanks to the sniper, it seems like these Germans are going to have to escape, but this was potentially pretty dangerous. As you can see, the pair-dropped anti-tank gun was not defended correctly, and the support gun crew over here, the pack howitzer, also not able to defend itself in close quarters combat against these Sturm Pioneers. So very dangerous situation for the Allies. They need to be a little bit more careful with how they use their infantry, and Kairos should be making use of these Soviet medics to heal up his units. Otherwise, he's just going to be taking unnecessary losses as he comes back on the field, kind of half reinforced, half healed. On the left side, he has managed to secure this whole area and place a fighting position all the way to the fuel point. But the problem is, they can just cut off the fuel point with the strategic point capture. So that's exactly what they're doing, and Apple probably smartly just sent some random grenadiers to that. So the map control situation and the harassment situation definitely in favor of the Germans. The Allies need to be putting a little bit more work into how they defend their territory and to how they, I guess, encroach into German territory. And they should be putting less attention into trying to attack this fortified redoubt of doom in the center, which is just protected by all kinds of support weapons and the flak as well. So at least that's in my opinion, because I don't think that they can kind of crack this unless they try something particularly good with the flanks. And I mean, the captain is doing decently with that. It's getting a flank off, but in the center, yeah, things are not going to be looking all that good for the Allies. Of course, the 222 needs to be careful about the Stuart. Here comes the nice flank from the captain, but he gets shut down rather instantly by the flak half track, and he's wiped. So not the best possible thing. Stuart is also wiped out by the Rakenwerfer, so that's well done. Of course, Sniper's still picking off a lot of German units, and he's up to 7 kills. Almost takes out the Panzer Grenadier squad with that Maxim. Or no, that's actually the stolen MG42, right. Still no Maxim for Adamir because he does not have tier 2. So that's pretty good for him. Another flanking attempt from these Grenadiers, getting yet another cutoff on that point. And so the Allied resource flow is getting disrupted pretty severely. However, as you can see, the Allies are inflicting some major losses on the Germans in the central fight. Adamir Magnum still has quite a lot of manpower, and he has gone for tier 3. So he might want to go for the tier 4 and get himself some T-3485s, or he wants to get something out of the Tank Heavy Battalion Command, although if he wanted to, he probably should have done it already. Yeah. And nobody really has the major fuel advantage, although the Germans have a slight one because they've been having the right side more often than not, whereas the Allies have the left side, but they don't have the connecting point most of the time. So the Germans getting a slight amount of income more than the Allies, but I mean nothing really that constitutes a major advantage. So none of the sides really are going to have a teching advantage in the near future. And Kairos can get the major. He should probably do that. Right now, basically the two teams are relatively even. We have around 20 PopCap lead for the Germans. But I mean, it's nothing too big. Of course, we have the Schwerpanzer headquarters coming through for Waikidwal, and that's pretty okay. It's in an okay spot, relatively well protected. Not much the Allies are going to be able to do about it, and he can probably purchase something nasty like an Obersoldaten squad. He does have the Firestorm Doctrine, but he didn't pick it. He does have the Luftwaffe ground forces, but he didn't pick it. He could go Special Operation and get himself some infrared STGs. Right now, getting some elite infantry for him would be very useful, because as you can see, the Allies are very much focusing on the infantry side of things, although there is to think about the sniper. Sniper Adamir Magnus's marksman is doing quite well, and it would counter any elite infantry, so it needs to be careful. Pops the relief infantry, actually, so that's, of course, Lightning War. He's going to get some Ostruppen back. Ostruppen, of course, are nasty as hell on this patch. 57mm anti-tank gun was actually taken by the Soviets from the paradrop, and right now it seems like we have a nice flank coming in. The Panzer Grenadiers will silence the stolen MG42, and the conscripts that are trying to defend against this push from the Germans are in deep trouble, but there's support coming in from the American player. Actually destroys a Volksgrenadier squad with the help of that support gun. Actually, no, that's a support gun. The pack howitzers. 2 pack howitzers in the same spot. Nasty, nasty as hell. And right now, the MG42 is still around, but it's not getting stolen by the Germans, or rather reclaimed by the Germans. And the snipers are doing their damn best to protect that weapon. And of course, picking off some Panzer Grenadiers, pretty good thing. Picking off some Grenadiers, also pretty good thing. And right now, yeah, that's not going to be all that good for the Germans. 222 finally finding itself around the fighting position. So finally, that is going to go down. And yet another paratrooper support squad plus AT gun paradrop is going to be dropped in. There goes the last of the Pathfinders, the last of the Mohicans or whatever. And yeah, right now it looks like the Americans will be going with those airborne squads, of course, from the amazing airdropped combat group. 325 manpower, 80 fuel, or sorry, 80 manpower to get an AT gun that's unmanned and a paratrooper squad. Of course, Obersoldaten are picked by Waikidwal, but he's going to go for some MG34s on them. So no special operations picked yet. Still wants to hold his cards tight. And yes, so the main problem for the Allies still is the fact that they're trying this sort of, I don't know, headlong struggle against the Germans, headbutting against the major defenses of the center, although the Obersoldaten is going to go down. Aw, luckily for him, the snipers did not have the range. Still, they're trying to fight the Germans head-to-head, one-on... Well, not maybe one-on-one, but in a sort of a fair fight. They're not even trying to flank. Although, it is understandable with the playstyle that Magnum has, because he's got the snipers. So the snipers, the longer he can keep the Germans sort of busy with his conscripts in the center, if he can use the conscripts to take the damage, take the brunt of the German fire, and have the snipers in the rear pick off the Germans, this is going pretty well for him. But for the American player, Kairos, he's got a lot of elite infantry. He's got a lot of just standard infantry, right? So picking a fight in this way is not going to be good for him. To be completely honest, with the paratroopers, unless you upgrade them with the MG42s, you're better off just using them as a flanking unit. And the riflemen, of course, standing toe-to-toe at long range against Obersoldaten and veteran grenadiers is not exactly their job. As you can see, however, if they can do this with the support of the snipers, the grenadiers are not going to have an easy time. Nice flank from these grenadiers, but there's the flamethrowers that can turn them back. And more importantly, if the snipers just switch targets, this grenadier squad is going to get halved in just one shot. And as you can see, the grenadiers have to escape. Just sniped. And one of the grenadiers actually go down. Stuka AT support, of course. Apple doesn't have tier 3 or tier 4, but he does have the battle phases upgraded. I wonder if he's going to wait for the Tiger. He's relatively close to the Tiger when it comes to CPs. Only 1 CP left for him. And of course, 60 fuel means that, well, in about 3 minutes, he's going to have the Tiger. So would this be a good idea for him? Well, he knows that the Allies have some 57mm anti-tank guns, and maybe later they're going to go for some armor. But to be honest, for what we know, the Tiger is just a pretty good idea right now, because especially it would be useful against the enemy infantry. and with the ability to soak up damage. But Apple is going for something. He's going for the support armor core. I think this is a big mistake, to be honest. What I would have done is gone to Tiger and then saved up some resources and gone all the way to the heavy Panzer core. Because there's no real point in getting the tier 3 right now if you can just skip to the tier 4 while you get also your heavy call-in vehicle. So, yeah, there goes the machine gun. This flak is still alive, but as you can see, the allies have completely turned around the map control situation. They now have the advantage, even though they, for some reason, did not take this fuel point, probably just lack of units or something. Although, there are 2 engineers on the side of Adamir. So if Adamir can use these 2 engineers well, yeah. He can probably capture that point rather easily. At least the Germans are finally going for some AT guns, and as you can see, their effectiveness is proven right away as they kill that Sherman easily. There's also the PaK-40. So what the allies need to be afraid of right now is the usage of these anti-tank guns. 2 T-34-76s for Adamir. Pretty good choice, I think. He can use them for flanking. If his infantry is going to be relatively okay in terms of the staying power, the T-34s are going to have a good time flanking around the German defenses, getting some surprise attacks off. And to be honest, at this point, I would go for a Katyusha if I were him. But we'll see. Yeah, right now, of course, the T-34 is taking a lot of damage, so he needs to be careful about how he uses these because of the amount of damage these AT guns can put up. Right now, here comes a pretty nasty cluster bombs on the anti-tank guns, but the anti-tank guns do manage to get out. However, the MG will not and takes a little bit of damage. MGs, however, still able to get some good suppression off on these airborne, and the airborne will not be able to charge in. There goes the 222 finally from these anti-tank guns. Finally, the right side is being captured by the conscripts from Adamir, and the stalemate continues over the center. One of these sides really needs to find some way to flank around the other. To be honest, this part of the defenses for the Allies is very weak, whereas this part of the defenses is very weak for the Germans. They're kind of like switched in a way. Their defenses are specular to each other. One of them has the weak point on the... Well, both of them have the weak point on their right flank. As in, if I turn around, this is how the Allies are looking, and the right flank for them is the problem. Anyway, Panzer IV is on the field for Apple. That's going to delay the Tiger by quite a bit. Panzer IV is, of course, 135, is it? Well, it used to be 135. Now it's 120. And, yeah, that's still about 6 minutes of income for what the Germans have. And there goes another veteran Volksgrenadier squad. Not the best thing to lose, to be honest. The Axis need to be more careful with their infantry. The Allies are not necessarily being very conservative with their infantry usage, but oh my god, that was absolutely insane. Did you see that? Holy shit. Well, those PaK howitzers just earned their pay and a half. Holy shit. They just dropped both of those Obersoldaten squads. That's 800 manpower plus the 280. Wait, what? Company Fears 1. Holy shit. 280 in Company Fears 1. Right. Plus the 250 Volksgrenadiers. So that's 1,050 manpower just gone for Wakadwell in the blink of an eye, really. Part of that, I mean, the Volksgrenadiers part was because of his hubris and because he didn't retreat them. But, I mean, those two Obersoldaten were just kind of massacred by the PaK howitzer, as the sniper is about to be. There goes another squad. And the Germans have just gone from being equal to the Allies to, well, let's look at the pop cap, 135 for the Allies, whereas 75 for the Germans. So 60 less. In fact, even further reduced by the gun crew being destroyed. These PaK howitzers are just absolutely slaughtering everything along with the mortar. This is insane. Can they even see what is going on here? No, they can't. They're just barraging everything here. Of course, at Vet 2, the barrage gets stronger. So, well, at least I think it used to be. I think it used to get stronger. It just says you can fire heat shells. You know, at Veteran C2, barrages used to get stronger. But still, they're doing very, very well. And combined with snipers, this is great because the snipers are spotting for everything. And right now, look at that, 41 kills on the first sniper, 14 on the second. So snipers plus support guns just absolutely obliterating everything the Germans had in the center. And at this point, the tactic of just headbutting into the center seems very justified. What you want is these pitched battles if you have the artillery superiority, if you have the sniper superiority, and even the Pathfinders are helping out very greatly in the spotting department. As you can see, their line of sight, it's not that great, but it's not evil either. And right now, the Germans are trying to overrun the right side, or at least get some harassment off. But T-34 is excellent at counter-harassment. As you can see, just wiping out that Panzer Grenadier. And the Germans are just in such a bad spot right now. Apple also deciding to go with a Stug for some reason, instead of waiting for the Tiger and going for that. He's going to just hand over the armor superiority to the Allies. I mean, Kairos eventually is going to get... Ooh, nice Stuka barrage. Or no, that was actually the rocket barrage from the Firestorm. Even though Kairos, for some reason, he isn't really going with a lot of armor. I mean, he's going for some Shermans every once in a while. But as you can see, Adamir Magnum, this is why you don't go for the Stug. I mean, it's nicely supported by the Pak-40, actually, and the Panzer IV. So the Stug is going to be saved, and one of the T-34s went down. Of course, I get proven wrong as soon as I speak. But still, it's just too vulnerable to flanking whenever the enemy has something like T-34s. Adamir Magnum also has a lot of resources in the bank, so he was probably just saving up to see what he wants to go for. I mean, to be honest, some T-34-85s wouldn't hurt right about now, but a Katyusha would be better. Although, to be fair, I mean, he's just destroyed every infantry unit in the German arsenal, so might as well go for T-34-85s, or Su-85s actually wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah, Su-85s are probably better because they're not only going to be strong against more rocket barrages, lots of munitions being expended in these, and actually one of the Pak howitzers was destroyed. That was well spent, actually. Because those Pak howitzers are probably the biggest threat right now to the Germans. Where is the second one? It's over here. Still, what I was saying is that, to be honest, yeah, the Su-85 would be able to counter the German tanks rather easily. Even if the Germans bring out a heavy tank, the Su-85 is going to be strong. And the Su-85 is also going to be useful against the trucks. So, yeah, Su-85 is probably the best all-around choice right now for Adamir Magnum. And his infantry force is very, very fearsome, and it's got some pretty nasty anti-infantry capabilities. We've got the Pinos with the stolen LMG-42s, veterancy-free conscripts to soak up the damage, and 2 scout sniper squads with lots of kills, lots of veterancy. So it's not like he needs to fear enemy infantry all that much. Getting the Su-85 is probably okay, and the T-34 is going to provide some good anti-harassment support, some good mobility. Here comes the cluster bombs, but unfortunately they don't do any damage to the buildings, so but a bit of a waste of munitions coming in from Kairos. Right now, he needs to find some way, honestly, to stitch his forces back together. He's got a very, very weird and incoherent mix of units. I mean, it's like, yes, the not the Pathfinders, the Pathfinders are going to cooperate rather well with the Pak howitzer, anti-tank gun, and the mortar. And in fact, he's stolen a Pak, so that's, no, actually, our Kenwerfer. He's got a second Kenwerfer that he can steal. Okay, so he's going to have a pretty good sort of assortment of support weapons, indirect fire, guns, and all of that. But he doesn't have any infantry to back that up and defend it. He's got a couple of airborne, but he needs to be upgrading these with LMGs. Otherwise, they're going to be worthless. With the carbines, it's just not worth to pay so much for airborne. And right now, first Stuka barrage not really doing the best ever. But yeah, at least the Allies have this situation kind of under control. Axis, once again, resurging nicely and taking right side points. At least they've been doing that correctly. The left side, well, the harassment there hasn't been going quite as well. The Allies have these points pretty much for free. They haven't been contested at all this game. And right now, yeah, the Germans are just focusing their energies in the center. Here comes a nasty Panzerwerfer barrage, which might have been destroying the snipers. Might have been aimed, in fact, as the snipers. But it does do a lot of damage to support weapons. Of course, the Panzer Grenadiers trying to chase the destroyed or damaged crew members. They're doing some damage, but the T-34-76 plus the snipers, that's going to mean the end of the Panzer Grenadier squad, I think. Let's see. Jackson actually fires at the snipers, because why not? Miss. but he hits with the last shot. So once again, the sniper aces doing some good work, and right now it's just such a massacre. Look at these guys. They're just picking off the Germans. Jackson on the field, probably a good idea. If I were the Allies right now, I would just worry about preparing for the worst when it comes to German armor. Because you don't want the Germans to really load up on the big late game armor, even though they don't really have anything. Still, it's better to be safe rather than to be sorry. And the other thing that I would be worried about is the German artillery. We've heard both the Panzerwerfer and the Stuka, so the Allies should know that their sort of defensive playstyle and their, I guess, very straightforward axis of advance, just headbutting into the center, might not work forever. In fact, with the Jagdpanzer, their armor superiority is going to be contested a little bit more as well. So the Allies need to find some way to, I guess, diversify their tactics a little bit. Here comes some nasty Stuka barrages, but not really doing a lot of damage. In the center, yeah, the Allied infantry is doing quite well still, but the Jackson goes down to the combined fire of all these anti-tank guns and the, Jagdpanzer IV. Sherman also dies. Cluster bombs are not really going to do anything except probably kill this pack crew. Yeah. There it goes. But yeah, it's not like the Allies really have much that can capitalize on this. Here comes the Penals, but the Penals don't really have anything that can deal with the Panzer IV. The two snipers were trying to sort of stop these Volksgrenadiers, but the Panzerwerfer barrage forces them away. Still no flanking attempts from basically any of the two armies. As you can see, they're all kind of huddled up around the center, and just that. Not really coming along the flanks here nor there, and they're just ignoring this entire area, funneling into the center, which is allowing, of course, this rocket artillery to be very, very strong. The Katyusha is also on the field, although it hasn't fired yet, so we'll see if the first barrage can really impact the game in any substantial way. Although I don't think so, to be honest. Here comes the barrage. It's just gonna be shot at the battle quarters, although it got the kill on a squad, so that might have been the last Volksgrenadiers, and also did some damage to Stuka, so I guess a successful first barrage. Still though, to be honest, the Katyusha at this point doesn't really have all that many targets left. It's mostly going to be unemployed. Like, probably it's just going to be reduced at firing at the trucks all the time, just getting some damage on the trucks, because, I mean, look at this. We have one support weapon plus one Sturmpioneer for Wake Duel, and Apple has a couple of Panzergrenadiers and some engineers. So the infantry components for the Germans, really low, really weak, and it's not like they don't have tools to deal with them. I mean, they've got a lot of snipers, machine guns, elite infantry, and all of that. So what they really need to worry about is the anti-tank capabilities at this point, and we'll see. So nicely pushing in on the right side, finally reclaiming these points for the motherland, yeah, there's not really much that the Germans can do to stop them, really. Right now, the main striking force for the Germans, again, is this artillery. And right now, the Jagdpanzer's in a very bad position. As you can see, it's kind of backed up to a wall. This is not good. I don't really see anything that's spotting it, but here comes the infantry. That's going to spot it all right. Here comes the Panzerwerfer and the Stuka, but the Panzerwerfer will miss. The Stuka will also miss because the Allied infantry was pushing up. That's kind of the Trikov tactic. You just push up into the enemy, and you make sure that they will not artillery their own guys. Snipers have to run away from the Panzer IV, but Panzer IV will have to run away from the M157mm anti-tank gun. And right now, there's also a decrewed pack over here that could be potentially stolen from the Allies, or for the Allies, and right now it's not looking good for the Germans. Their engineers are being forced away, and there goes the last of the infantry cover that was composed of those engineers. Honestly though, for some reason the Allies not destroying or taking this back is a bit of a mistake. Here comes some Katyusha barrages on the actual retreat point, so this is pretty dangerous for these two units that are over here. There goes the support gun crew, and there goes the support gun itself. The Obersoldaten being wiped out as well, so yes, the last of the elite infantry is dead. Well, I mean, there's still a Veteran C5 Sturmpioneer squad, but, I mean, what can it do alone against all of this allied, allied stuff? Although it's making a good show of itself, almost destroying that ambulance with the Panzerschreck. Will it go down? Nah, probably not. Still, as you can see, the Germans down to 105 pop cap, whereas the Allies are up to 150, and most of that difference is in terms of infantry. So what this is going to translate into is a massive lead for the Allies in terms of map control. As you can see, the Allies already have full control over the left-hand side, and it's only a matter of time before their superior numbers of units take over the right side as well and start to swarm over the center, providing line of sight for their vehicles to not only outrange the German vehicles, because the German vehicles will not have their own infantry to cover them, to provide them with line of sight. As you can see, this Su-85 can just fire at the Stug with impunity because the snipers are spotting, and even the Jagdpanzer not really having any spotting on the Su-85. Finally gets the spot on the Su-85 because it's firing, but still it's a little bit too late because the Su-85 managed to get a lot of free shots in. Snipers once again have to retreat from the artillery barrage, but there's other allied units in the way that the German tanks can't really get past. And as you can see, this is causing the Jagdpanzer IV to want to escape rather, and the two Wehrmacht vehicles to take a lot of damage. So the Germans first and foremost need to try to find some way to deal with the allied infantry. Of course, the artillery is a good thing in that regard, but they're going to need eventually to get some infantry and deal with the snipers on their lonesome self. Nice Stuka barrage, dealing a lot of damage. Looks like one of the airborne squads was destroyed, so Kairos still losing troops, but really it is Adamir that's carrying the fight when it comes to the infantry. Kairos has, well, he's got a few support weapons. Unfortunately, his pack howitzer hasn't been reclaimed yet, which is a bit of an oversight, to be honest. Needs to be more focused on that. And right now, here comes the Katyusha barrage. Where exactly? On the trucks. Actually, the Jagdpanzer is very damaged. Might die. If a couple of rockets hit this thing directly, it's gonna die. No, it isn't. That's because it's lucky, though. Yeah. And as I said, I mean, the one Sturm Pioneer can do something, but it's not like it's gonna do too much. Right side, of course, Adamir. I feel like the biggest mistake for the Allies is really ignoring this right side. Just sending one of these vehicles plus one anti-tank gun over here would be enough to deal with just this sporadic harassment coming in from both the Panzer IV and the Obersoldat, not the Obersoldat, the Panzer Grenadiers. I feel like sending the T-34 plus the anti-tank gun to that side would just be handing it over to, you know, Soviet control permanently. So Adamir should really devote some extra forces in here, and here comes another nasty Panzerwerfer trying to hit those snipers, but the snipers decide to just be safe rather than sorry and retreat away. So at this point, the Allies are really in the commanding lead. They've got almost a triple cap going. They just need to capture this right side to get a triple cap. Right now, of course, battle quarters over here taking a lot of damage. It's going to get hit by the Katyusha barrage, and yet another Obersoldaten squad is going to be destroyed. So, yeah, I was wrong about the Katyusha. It did have a pretty big impact. It's just wiping out everything in its first barrage. So really the Allied artillery once again coming into play, and there goes finally that immortal flak half track. And the Stuka unfortunately not really having the impact that it desired. The Germans will gather up for one last push because they know that they're almost dead. They're at 71 points. But they run straight into the anti-tank guns, doing absolutely no scouting work before attacking, and so running straight into the main enemy defensive line. The Panzer IV will blow up, and the rest of the units will not even be able to support all that much. The Jagdpanzer IV probably just can't do anything. I mean, T-34-76 might go down, and it's not really going to make that much of a difference. And the Germans recaptured the right side once again because the Allies are just really ignoring it. And yeah, once the Allies send in some units there, unfortunately for the Germans, it's probably going to be the end. Here comes the Panzerwerfer barrage instantly on the snipers, who are up to 82 kills. Actually, no, it was on the machine gun. Doesn't really do anything. And the snipers just continue to rampage, destroying... the Stuka is dead. Ha, nice usage of the stolen Raketenwerfer. That's why Raketenwerfers are just so strong. The sneakiness. Destroying the Stuka, and I feel like this is going to be the end. So what did the Germans do wrong? Well, they got beat at their own game. They got beat at their own tunnel into one area and attrition out the enemy kind of game. Once they realized what the Allies were doing, they should have been playing a lot more flexibly. They should have been using the flanks a lot more, because this Allied sort of ball, it's very, very effective as something that's coming at the front, because that's where the machine guns are, that's where the AT guns are. The snipers will be protected by infantry in the front. It's just going to be hard for anything to break it, trying to punch through at the front. But if you get around it, well, you can surprise the snipers and kill them before they can react. You can get around the arcs of fire of the support weapons. You saw how effective these just Stern Pioneers randomly coming in, one unit, how effective they were. You just saw that. So imagine if those flanks were done with vehicle support and multiple units. I feel like the Allies would have been in deep trouble had the Germans been using those more. So to be honest, the Allies played well like Germans. And I say that because this kind of playstyle is usually what the Germans do. Try to get, you know, superiority for attrition types of games. Get the better support weapons. Get the better long-range firepower, anti-infantry, you know, snipers, elite infantry, you know, LMGs, machine guns, all of that. And try to just slowly but surely work your way through enemy infantry units, wipe out enemies, and then get the vehicle superiority because you just have the map control. That's usually what the Germans do. But this time it was the Allies to do that. And of course, coupling that with some very, very effective artillery usage. Of course, the artillery was facilitated very much by the snipers and the spotting units, just giving so much line of sight to them. And overall, it was a deadly combination that the Germans couldn't deal with. Partially also because Apple decided to not go for the Tiger early on. He postponed that. Instead went for a Panzer IV, which was not enough to just kind of deal a breaking blow to the Allies when he needed to. Honestly, the Allies were able to just kind of sit back, build up their massive ball of, you know, overpowered anti-infantry, I guess you could say, and slowly but surely work down the Germans. Had there been a Tiger on the field earlier, the Allies wouldn't have had as much anti-tank to deal with the Tiger. Of course, the Panzer IV was still no problem. The Stuglader didn't really add anything to the German composition. So if they had the Tiger earlier, I think they would have had a pretty big upper hand, because the Tiger, as a heavy tank, it's relatively useful at flanking as well, because it's got a relatively fast turret traversal, and its maneuverability is not half bad. So, honestly, I feel like big mistakes for the Germans. One, not playing more like the Allies. If the Germans are playing more, or sorry, if the Allies are playing more like the Germans have to play more like the Allies. They should have been more dynamic. They should have been flanking more. They should have paid more attention to what was going on with the Allies' strategy. Essentially, lure the Germans into the tunnel of the center and crush them there, you know, in a head-to-head. What they should have done is try to disrupt that as much as possible. Apple was good in sending in some troops all the time to capture the right side, even up to the end. But they should have done this more extensively. They should have done this to the left-hand side as well. They should have been more focused on trying to find ways around the Allied defenses of the center and try to exploit flanks. Because they were not able to do that, though, in the end, the Allies just attritioned them out and destroyed them. And number two, of course, the teching choices. For some reason, Wakadwal, at one point, he went for a Panther, and it died. Then he went for a Jagdpanzer 470, and it didn't do anything. He went for Stuka earlier. The Stuka was a good idea, but to be completely honest, I would have gone for some Panzer IVs, because it's not like the Germans were really behind when it comes to the fuel. So some medium armor would have helped out pretty greatly against everything that the Allies had. I don't know. I feel like the Panzer IV would have been a good choice. Still, though, the Stuka was also a very good choice. So perhaps one of the German players should have been more focused on getting out the artillery. Probably the Wehrmacht player with the Panzerwerfers, because the Panzerwerfers I find, at least after the last patch, are a little bit more effective than the Stuka, especially when it comes to cost effectiveness and how they tie into the tech tree, because of course the Panzer Werfers are at the tier 4, whereas the Stukas are at tier 3, so you have to kind of side tech if you're going to go for the battle quarters. Still, what I would have gone if I were the Germans is have the Wehrmacht guy will go for the Tiger and then the Panzerwerfers, whereas the OKW guy go for some Panzer 4s and then maybe a King Tiger or something. I don't know. Still, though, the Allies played very, very well, especially these snipers getting some good kills. Unfortunately, I can't look at their total kill numbers because they're retreating, of course. Oh, well, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.